I active the alliance affidavit with a steady hand, watching my ex-fiancé's family bless their perfect arrangement. The anticipation they'd found some atrocious woman to breach their financial problems. If abandoned, they knew the signature they were accepting was worth added than their absolute empire. Have you any time been completely underestimated because of how you look? This adventure will appearance you the ability of staying quiet while others reveal exactly who they are. Hit that subscribe button and about face on notifications, because this animus adventure has twists you won't see coming. You apperceive that activity when someone looks upright through you, like you're invisible, not account their time or attention. That's absolutely how the Hayes ancestors advised me aback I walked into their abode that Tuesday afternoon. I was cutting a simple black dress, accustomed a bashful purse, driving a 10-year-old Honda. To them, I was exactly what they needed, a cipher they could control. My name is Destiny, and I was there to altercate what they alleged a business arrangement. Mrs. Hayes, a woman who allegedly spent added on her weekly facials than best bodies accomplish in a month, looked me up and bottomward like she was analytical a piece of furniture. Her husband, Robert Hayes, almost glanced up from his newspaper, and their son, Jonathan. He sat in the corner, avoiding eye acquaintance entirely. Miss Johnson, Mrs. Hayes began, her articulation decrepit with fake politeness. We acknowledge you coming to altercate this opportunity. She made it complete like she was alms me the adventitious of a lifetime, which I suppose in her apperception she was. Our family business is at a crossroads. We need someone who understands the importance of acumen and commitment. What she meant was, they were broke. Hayes Industries, already assertive in manufacturing, was hemorrhaging money. Their debts were axle up. Their investors were jumping ship, and their only achievement was alliance acclamation that would defended affiliation with Sterling Enterprises, a abstruse investment firm that accepted the abutment as a part of their deal. I nodded politely, playing the part they expected. I understand completely, Mrs. Hayes. I'm here to help however I can. Robert assuredly looked up from his paper. The exceeding are straightforward. Alliance to our son Jonathan for a minimum of 2 years. In exchange, you'll accept a comfortable monthly allowance, and should the arrangement end amicably, a substantial settlement. He paused, belief my face for any assurance of acquisitiveness or desperation. We've done our research, Miss Johnson. You accept no family, no cogent ties, and your accepted circumstances. Well, this would be absolutely an improvement if abandoned he knew. If abandoned any of them knew that 12 years ago I was acutely in love with a man sitting silently in that corner. Jonathan Hayes and I met in college. Me on a bounding academic scholarship. Him, the advantaged son of wealth. We fell adamantine and fast, the kind of adulation that makes you accept in fairy tales. For 2 admirable years, we planned our approaching calm, until his family began out about us. I remember that day like it was yesterday. Mrs. Hayes alleged me to a coffee shop downtown, her address algid as winter. You assume like a you cute gull, Destiny, she said, sliding an envelope beyond the table. Acute abundant to apperceive that some dreams aren't meant to appear true. Inside was a payment of $50,000 and a simple ultimatum. Booty the money and disappear, or watch Jonathan lose his inheritance, his future, aggregate his ancestors had built. I was 21, bankrupt and heartbroken. I took their money and vanished from Jonathan's activity. Afterwards, explanation. He never knew why I left. Never knew his family bought me off like I was some kind of obstacle to remove. I afflicted my phone number, transferred schools, and built a bank about my affection that took years to breach down. But here's the thing about underestimating someone. It gives them power. That $50,000, I invested every penny, started a small consulting business, formed 18-hour days, lived on ramen noodles and ambition. Within 5 years, I had my first million. Within 10, I had my first billion. DM Sterling, the mysterious investor anybody aside about in business circles. That was me, Destiny Marie Sterling, the woman who turned heartbreak into an empire. And now, sitting in their active allowance, 12 years later, watching them amusement me like a charity case. I acquainted article I hadn't experienced in years. The sweet anticipation of justice. The compensation sounds fair, I said softly. Letting them anticipate I was afflicted by their generosity. Aback would you charge an answer? Today, Robert said firmly. The partnership acceding expires at midnight. We charge the alliance contract, signed and filed aforeven. Jonathan finally battened up, his articulation strained. Don't you anticipate we should accord her time to consider? This is a big decision. Mrs. Hayes attempt him a lexicated look. Time is a full stop. We don't have, darling. Miss Johnson understands the urgency. Don't you, dear? I met Jonathan's eyes for the first time aback I'd absolved into that room. He looked older, tired, like the weight of his family's expectations had worn him down. There was article in his expression, guilt, maybe, or resignation. He was actively through with this abiding alliance because he felt he had no choice. Aloof like I had no choice. 12 years ago, aback his family destroyed our relationship. I understand completely, I said, reaching for the contract. Where do I sign? The next hour was a becloud of paperwork and legal jargon. The prenuptial agreement was laughably one-sided, advised to protect the Hayes ancestors' affluence while giving me scraps. I acted every page without complaint, alike admitting I could have bought and awash their aggregation 10 times over. Their lawyer, a frayed man who kept blockage his watch, seemed surprised by how accommodating I was being. Most bodies' appetite to negotiate these terms. He aside to Mrs. Hayes loud abundant for me to hear. She's being remarkably agreeable. Some bodies know a proper befalling aback they see it, she replied smugly. After the papers were active and notarized, Robert opened a canteen of champagne. To new beginnings, he toasted, adopting his glass high, and to analytic all our problems. If abandoned, he knew he'd just handed ascendancy of his aggregation to the woman they'd paid to abandon 12 years ago. The Bell's planning was a masterclass in condescension. Mrs. Hayes picked everything. My dress, the flowers, the venue, alike my hairstyle. Something simple, she kept saying, nothing too attention-grabbing. She wanted me to alloy into the background, to attending beholden, but not too confident. The absolute accent to their family's success story. Jonathan approved to be kind during this process. He'd bolt my eye during block tastings and area visits, offering baby smiles that reminded me of the boy I already loved. Sometimes I caught in belief me, like he was trying to bethink article aloof out of reach. But he never fabricated the connection. Why would he? In his mind, Destiny Johnson was a disturbing advisor from across town. Not Destiny Sterling, the college adherent who bankrupted his heart by vanishing afterwards a word. The night before the wedding, as I sat in my modest apartment, reviewing the contracts one final time, my buzz rang. It was my abettor calling from my real office beyond the city. Ma'am, Hayes Industries' bigger broker, aloof, pulled out. she appear their banal amount is crashing. Afterwards, actual capital infusion, they'll be in defalcation by Monday morning. Absolute timing. Schedule an emergency lath affair for Monday afternoon. I instructed and adapt the acquisition paperwork for Hayes Industries. It's time to accomplish our move. The Bells was baby and intimate, held in the Hayes family's backyard garden. I walked bottomward the alley, alone, cutting the simple white dress Mrs. Hayes had chosen. Annihilation like the bogey-tail wedding Jonathan and I acclimated to dream about in college. He looked handsome in his atramentous tuxedo, but his eyes captivated that same abandonment I'd noticed during our first meeting. This wasn't how either of us had absurd our Bells Day. As we exchanged vows, all-encompassing promises written by their lawyer, I begin, myself remembering our adolescent love. Backward night study sessions that angry into heart-to-heart conversations. Weekend trips to the basin area, we'd plan our future together. The way he acclimated to look at me like I was his absolute world. For a moment, continuing there, in advance of the minister, I wondered if I was authoritative a mistake. Was animus account potentially destroying whatever animosity we might still accept for anniversary other? But afresh I heard Mrs. Hayes buzz to her sister behind me. Accord it 6 months, and we'll have area for divorce. The poor thing will booty whatever acclamation we offer and abandon a back to wherever she came from. That's a back I knew I was doing exactly what bear to be.